Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to yet another exciting episode of the Vinnie Eastwood Show, broadcasting live from New Zealand. And it's a really wonderful place, this country, because you can go out, you can tell the truth, you can expose scumbaggery, and guess what happens? People threaten to sue you for defamation. Yeah, that's right. If you're exposing corruption, oh, it's a crime to accuse somebody of the truth. You gotta love this country, man. It's so third world, you know. It's almost like I feel like I'm gonna go to the bathroom in a bucket one of these days. You know, it's that bad, or at least. If you did any analysis of the media and how freaking pathetic they are, that would be the case. Now, considering that you do really have to look at the media in quite a serious light, criticize them when they fail, and give them props when they exceed. That's the reason why we've got my very special guest today here, the illustrious, the fabulous, and the various other nice adjectives, Susanne Posel from OccupyCorporatism.com and the USIndependent.com. Susanne, welcome to the program.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
It's my pleasure and honor and what have you, and you probably give me a hell of a lot more credibility than I can get on my own. Now, we have a story to tell about the Ukraine. And when I say we, I mean you, because I don't know nothing about it. Not yet.
Well, I think it's very important. Recently, there was a video put out, a very beautiful young woman. Camera shots were all great. The editing was fabulous. It was very poignant. And it spoke to people's hearts. And see, that's how these situations begin and progress. And that's what I want to discuss today. I want to discuss the marketing behind the manufactured revolutions, because I don't think that people are aware that this is a product. This is how insidious these people are. Okay, we're dealing with CEOs. We're dealing with corporate heads, governments, state, multinational corporations, venture capitalists, investors, all the people who showed up at the World Economic Forum. We're talking about CEOs and investors. And so they have a product. Now, most of us think of a product as something that's physical, and there's a reason for that. It's because if you're not paying attention to the products that are non-physical, and you're thinking product, a physical object, then you're more likely to fall for the products that are ideas. And I want to give you an example. An idea whose time has come. It sounds real catchy. Does it, Vinny? It sounds great, right? An idea whose time has come.
Allegedly.
It sounds like a slogan, doesn't it?
I've heard it many, many times. In fact, I've heard it out Zeitgeist, in fact. That's what it reminds me of.
I just saw it recently on social media. Someone was passing along a meme. An idea whose time has come. What idea? Whose idea? Is it the idea that I remembered I lost my keys? Is it the idea that I want to celebrate my daughter's birthday on Saturday even though it's on Tuesday? Is it the idea that I need to change my tire? Is it the idea of what we're going to have for dinner? What idea are we talking about? See, the reason why this comes out, this slogan, an idea whose time has come, the reason why it comes out is because we put our emotional idea of what the idea is in front of that. We finish their sentence for them. And so when we do that, an idea whose time has come becomes personal. And if anyone were to attack that idea whose time has come, then they would be attacking us personally. And they're attacking our right to exist. And of course we have a right to exist. We're here, aren't we? So we have this dilemma of marketing that we're falling under. And let me go back to that video that I mentioned. I watched it. It was very poignant. It touched my heart. I saw that it was very well produced. I saw that it was directed in a specific way. But it did not talk about the reason why Venezuela erupts. No one's talking about that. Ukraine erupts. Everyone's talking about that. They're not talking about the reason why. The reason why is why you're being marketed to. And the marketing has multifaceted effects. But Vinny, I don't want to take up, I don't want to railroad your show.
You do
If you have any comments.
you do realize we have 3 hours, and you can take up as much time as you want, because that's kind of what my show is about, is making sure the guest, it's almost like, yeah, pretend for a moment that it's your show, but you have some kind of slave here to, work the board and what have you. That's kind of how it works.
Okay. Let's talk about marketing, folks. Everything is marketing and investing. Everything is marketing and investing. Everything is marketing and investing. The reason why is because it works. It's how the world goes round. When those gentlemen showed up at the World Economic Forum and they sat down, you had a room filled with people who were pitching an idea and people who would possibly be investing in that pitch. I watched a small couple of minutes of video with Bill Gates standing on stage speaking at the World Economic Forum. And he said, I can end poverty by 2035 if we get rid of people in impoverished countries. And one way that they could accomplish that was through his...
Whoa. Let me just get this straight. I'm going to end poverty by wiping out the poor. I guess that's one way to go about it. It'll be effective.
It is effective. See, folks, and I'm going to get into this as we go along, but we don't speak their language, and it puts us at a disadvantage. And what we understand about them is topical. And there's a reason for that, and I'm going to go into it. Because it's all marketing and investing, folks. That's all it is. They market to you, you invest in their product. They make a return. They market to you, you invest in their product. They make a return, okay? It's marketing and investing. Everything is marketing and investing because we're dealing with CEOs. Because that's how the world goes round. They market a product to you, and you buy it, thereby investing in the product. And buying it means that you either hand over your fiat currency in exchange for a good or service, or you become part of the brand and you assimilate that idea and that concept into your own personal paradigm. It's a product. Either way, you've purchased it. So you've invested in their product. Now they've made a return. Now with the Ukraine, this seems to be their MO, and it's been going on since the early 1990s with Optor in Serbia. Now, this group was using a book. The book is From Dictatorship to Democracy, 198 Ways to Topple Your Government Using Nonviolent Resistance. And this book, written in the 1970s, has now become the blueprint since it was used in Serbia. And when the Optor movement used it, they were effective, and they caught the attention of the International Republican Institute. Now, Senator John McCain is on their board of directors, if that gives you a hint about who they are. And so they sent representatives in and got into the inner core of Optor, because remember, you might have heard this before, Optor was the nameless, faceless, leaderless group. Well, they did have a leader. They did have an inner circle. They did something very, very sneaky. They watched, they observed, they took notes. They didn't interact other than to ask questions about, why did you choose this tactic? Why did you choose this formation? Let me give you some of the tactics that they used, Optor used. They would bang pots and pans and march through the streets during the news broadcasts when the nightly news was on, so everyone would hear it. They would hand flowers to the police officers who would stand in their way at the beginning of the protest. And they strategically placed women, elderly, and children in front of the group that was protesting because they knew that police officers, now I know times have changed, but at the time they knew psychologically police officers were less likely to hit an elderly person, a child, or a woman. They turned mirrors onto the police officers that were standing in the way of the protesters to show the police officers what they looked like. They had the fist as their icon. Why? Because the fist represents power. And when you're speaking to a group who feel disenfranchised, and for really good reason, their homes are taken away, their jobs are taken away, their ability to pay for anything is taken away, not only from the fact that they lost their job, but their purchasing power is diminished. They feel utterly powerless. So you put a sign in front of them with a fist, and you tell them you're going to march down these streets and you're going to take your power back. And those people say, yes, because I don't have my power. And so I'm going to go take it back from those guys who took it. Now, who are those guys again? They are telling you who they are. They point to the right direction. They organize a crowd and they go marching down the street. It is the new foreign policy that the U.S. government has been using because it is the most effective scheme that they've ever discovered. And it is extremely important that we pay attention to the Ukraine because they are taking honest, good people. How do you get good people to do bad things? How do you get good people to vie for their own tyranny?
Problem, reaction, solution.
You market to them. These fake revolutions are a product. It's a product of a marketing scheme. It is set up through the Hegelian dialectic. And I know that we've heard these terms before, problem, reaction, solution. Let me give you an example of how quick the Hegelian dialectic works. I was at a friend's house and she had a magazine. It was one of these girly magazines and I haven't seen one in a long time. So I picked it up and I was looking through it and here was this full page ad. And I'm thinking this must be worth like $15,000 or some exorbitant amount of money because it was just bam, right in your face. And it's a picture of a chocolate bar. And I'm looking at this chocolate bar and then off to my right I notice it says hungry with a question mark. And I'm looking at this chocolate bar and I said, well, yeah, actually I am. And I look down to the bottom left and there's the emblem and it says Snickers. And I said, oh, dear Lord, there's the Hegelian dialectic all in one shot. And if I wasn't paying attention, I would have answered the question yes, and I would have gotten in my car and go bought myself a Snickers. Now, I know the kind of garbage that is in that food, but I felt hungry. My stomach growled a little bit. Why? Because it speaks to a base, instinctual, deep part of our psychological programming. It's base need for food. It's base need for love. It's base need for acceptance. It's base need to defend your right to exist. Now, part of the pitch, when it comes to these fake revolutions, the logos, the catchphrases, the icons, the recruitment of the public, there's this little trick that salesmen use. And I don't know, Vinny, you used to be a telemarketer, so you might have come across this a little bit, but there's a little
I was a little bit different to most salesmen, in which case I was just so freaking genuine and such a nice guy that I got people to trust me within moments. It's actually kind of served me well as a radio show host.
Well, you're just a wonderful guy. So that's probably why it didn't work out, because these people are sharks. But they do this little trick. They repeat to you how you feel. They listen to what you say, and they pick out the emotion behind the words. And they only address the emotion. Because psychologically, on an unconscious level, you will then become in accord with them. And so now you're more likely to agree with the next thing they say. And the next thing they say is part of their sales pitch. They go right back into the pitch. It's called looping. If you go off script, and you start asking them questions that they're not prepared to answer, all they do is loop you back around, and so you're in the loop with them. And think of it as the infinity symbol on its side.
Oh my God, you know
They
what this
go,
reminds me of? Talking to cops, you know? Do you have weed on you? No, sir. Do you have weed on you? No, sir. Do you have weed on you? You know what? The fact that you keep asking me that exact same question means I should probably not give you the answer you want. So again, no, sir. That's the looping, isn't it?
That is, and what you did is brilliant, because if you're not participating, then they have no other choice than to keep reiterating their point. But your non-participation, your non-compliance in the loop keeps them. You are adversarial, and they are adversarial to you. The reason why you want to keep them in that state is because you retain your power. That's where your power is, in your non-compliance. That's why I've talked about non-compliance. It's not popular. There's a lot of groups out there who are saying, hey, I know you lost your home and you lost your job and your babies are hungry and your kids need new shoes and you really can't afford to buy them for them. Hey, we're organizing this protest.
To tell about the Ukraine. And when I say we, I mean you, because I don't know nothing about it. Not yet.
Well, I think it's very important. Recently, there was a video put out, a very beautiful young woman. Camera shots were all great. The editing was fabulous. It was very poignant. And
Special guest today here, the illustrious, the fabulous, and the various other nice adjectives, Susanne Posel from OccupyCorporatism.com and the USIndependent.com. Suzanne, welcome to the program.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
It's my pleasure and honor and what have you, and you probably give me a hell of a lot more credibility than I can get on my own. Now, we have a story to one of these days, you know, it's that bad, or at least if you did any analysis of the media and how freaking pathetic they are, that would be the case. Now, considering that you do really have to look at the media in quite a serious light, criticise them when they fail, and give them props when they exceed. That's the reason why we've got my very tree, because you can go out, you can tell the truth, you can expose scumbaggery, and guess what happens? People threaten to sue you for defamation. Yeah, that's right. If you're exposing corruption, oh, it's a crime to accuse somebody of the truth. You gotta love this country, man. It's so third world, you know. It's almost like I feel like I'm gonna go to the bathroom in a bucket. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to yet another exciting episode of the Vinnie Eastwood Show, broadcasting live from New Zealand. And it's a really wonderful place, this country.